What if one of the most quoted Bible verses about Israel is being used to push a foreign policy that would be foreign, no pun intended, to most of church history? A few weeks ago, my dad asked me what I thought about the US striking Iran in support of Israel. He wasn't settled on it. He was still trying to figure out whether Genesis 12 means that if America supports Israel, we will receive God's blessing. That short conversation stuck with me. Today, I'm going to finish that conversation with all of you. First, let's be straight about some things I do believe. Israel absolutely has a right to defend itself, and Iran has spent decades funding terrorism and openly calling for Israel to be wiped off the map. That's not debatable. There's also the hypocrisy of Trump's no new wars promise. My deeper issue isn't the geopolitics. It's the theology a lot of Christians use to turn this into some kind of biblical duty for America. I told my dad that I don't believe that Genesis 12 applies to the modern nation state of Israel the way many people assume. While the Old Testament people of God and the modern nation state share the same name, they are in fact distinct entities. Let me explain with a quick story. In my small high school, I was one of two Eric Joneses. I was chronically late, the other was on time. I kept getting warnings about my tardies. Never any detention. Until we realized that half of my tardies had been ascribed to the wrong account. Same name, completely different person. Mistaken identity created a whole mess. That's exactly what I see happening here. Modern Israel and biblical Israel share the same name and some historical connection, but they are not the same entity when it comes to how the Abrahamic promises apply today. Assuming they are leads to some pretty distorted conclusions about what Christians supposedly are required to support. Paul makes this abundantly clear in Romans chapter 9. It's not the children of the flesh who are true children of Abraham. The true seed of Abraham, the ones who inherit the promise, are those who embrace Jesus as the Messiah. That includes ethnic Gentiles who place their faith in Jesus. The blessing to all nations that God promised to Abraham in Genesis chapter 12 was always pointing forward to salvation coming through the Messiah. Jesus coming through Israel is the primary fulfillment of Genesis 12. Through Israel, the Messiah has arrived, and now people from every nation can receive the blessing. Through Israel, the Messiah has arrived, and now people of every nation can receive the blessing through faith in him. Modern Israel stands in exactly the same position as every other nation on earth, whether it be the United States, Great Britain, China, Russia, Botswana, you name it. If they embrace Christ, they receive the blessing. If they reject him, they remain under the curse. There's no special carve out for ethnicity or land. This is where the charge of replacement theology often gets thrown around. But I don't see it as a replacement. It's continuity and development. Israel didn't get scrapped and swept away and replaced. It grew into the church, just like teenage me grew into middle-aged me. The same core identity, continued existence, but matured and expanded. One of the most frustrating things to me is how deeply dispensationalism has soaked into the very fabric of American evangelicalism. A lot of folks have never heard of amillennialism or covenant theology, even though, in the case of amillennialism, this is the majority report for most of church history in terms of our eschatological or our end times view, which has big implications for our understanding of how the church and Israel relate. A lot of folks have never heard of alternatives. They grow up just believing this is just what the Bible teaches. When in reality, this is the new kid on the block, only roughly 200 years old. 90% of church history didn't see things this way. The problem of just not seeing our history and being completely unacquainted with it rears its ugly head in a lot of different ways, not just in this one. So here's the bottom line. Christians do not have a biblical duty to give unqualified, uncritical, political, or military support for the modern nation state of Israel. There may be practical reasons to do so, but it isn't a theological mandate. We should love Jewish people. We should pray for peace. We should oppose real anti-Semitism. We should support justice and self-defense where it's warranted. But we should not twist Old Testament promises into a blank check that bypasses the finished work of Christ. The blessing to the nations has already gone out. It's the gospel. That's the mission we're actually called to. That is the mandate for Christians. If this video helped to clarify how the whole Bible fits together on this issue, do me a favor and drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. Let's keep the conversation going in a healthy and thoughtful way. If you're finding this kind of grounded, non-tribal biblical thinking helpful, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.